Hey, what is up, everybody? This is the Fizzness Shizzness podcast. Welcome back. My name is Rob, and it is February 2023. January's gone. The resolutions are probably gone. And here we are. Actually, we just had Valentine's Day. Did you do something? Did you do something special, something romantic for that special somebody? You should have. You should have done that. I actually had a conversation this week about Valentine's Days and celebrating them. And I relayed this story that a conversation that me and my dad had one time. So for some context, I was married previously for 6 or 7 years, pretty good length of a first marriage that didn't turn out in the end to be very successful, but it was a good run. But, you know, we didn't celebrate any special holidays really. And at the time, I remember that we would say things like, well, we don't feel like we have to do that to validate anything, or this is a corporate holiday. They're just trying to get our money. We didn't have any money, but I also think that we were also lacking in a few other departments as well. And so, but we used that as a buffer to sort of put that off. Oh, we don't need that to prove anything. And so the marriage ends. I end up having a girlfriend after that, that I was living with, and Valentine's Day comes up and my dad says, "What are you going to get her?" And I, like an idiot, said nothing because that's what I had been doing. I had just been doing nothing. So I thought that was still okay to do. I had tricked myself and fooled myself into believing the BS I had been feeding myself over the last 6 or 7 years. And I remember it as clear as day. He says, "No, you get your girl something." And I took away from that something that I don't even know if it was intended, but you don't get somebody something for Valentine's Day or any special occasion because you have to. That's the worst kind of gift to receive. You're on the receiving end of something and they say, "Here you go, had to do it. Here's your obligatory gift. Thank you so much for feeling a need, and that's the only reason you did this." Nobody wants that gift. Of course you don't get something for Valentine's Day for somebody because you have to. That's ridiculous. The problem is why didn't you want to? Why didn't you want to get? Now that's a gift. It's the Christmas thing, right? It's the thought that counts. The thought that counts has nothing to do with the gift. Has everything to do with the purpose behind the gift. The reason that they got it for you in the first place. I don't want a gift because somebody felt like they had to give it to me. Unless it's really expensive, then give it. I'll take it. I'll figure out how to get through it and I'll just accept that gift, that expensive gift. But you know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to feel like you had to get them something. And at the time in my marriage, if I would have got her something, it probably would have been because I felt like I had to and not because I wanted to. And I would assume probably vice versa. So now that I've been married, my second marriage, almost 14 years, I do stuff because I want to. And because of that, I have to, right? I get her stuff because I enjoy it. Somebody said, "Well, why don't you just do that any other day of the week?" Because it's not Valentine's Day. I'll also do it on Tuesday. I don't have to pick and choose. I'm not doing this again because I have to. I don't have to do this today. I'm doing it because I can. And I'll do it any of those other days because I can. So that's my Valentine's Day rant. It just works for me. It may not work for you. I'll probably get some feedback. Bad take. I'll get a bad take feedback. That's all right. What I really want to talk to you all about today was something that I thought about a lot this week, is something that I've said a lot in my life, which is things are going to be okay. Things are going to work out. It served me well when I was a kid and a teenager. You know, when you go through a lot of things that are not pleasant to go through, survival becomes paramount. It becomes the thing that matters the most to you. So going through anything, you're not thinking of what's best case scenario here. You're just thinking, how do I get through this weekend? How do I survive to see Tuesday? Best case scenario doesn't even make sense to you during those times. So you become very much like, just put your head down and things will work out. You'll get there. And it was true. I did. Somehow, I put my head down and hoped for the best. And the best to me was simply just getting through that day and getting to another day. So my plan worked pretty well for me. The problem is I didn't get to a point where I changed the way that I viewed that statement, and I carried that mentality into being an adult. It doesn't work very good whenever you're an adult. It works sometimes, but not the way that it did whenever it was a kid, because you've got things you've got to be doing. You've got responsibilities. You've got a lot of times families or jobs or financial stuff or relationship stuff or whatever the thing is. You got things to deal with. And putting your head into the sand and saying, see you on Thursday doesn't work, at least not with the efficiency and effectiveness as it did whenever you were a kid. A couple years ago, when I say a couple, it's probably been now 7, 8 years ago. Wow, maybe almost 10. I was in real estate for almost 14 years. Whenever me and my wife got together, I had been in it for 3. And whenever we were married, I had some good years, some very good years. But eventually, those years turned out to be bad. I wasn't good at being a real estate agent. It just never fit me. I never enjoyed it. And I never felt like it was my thing. So because of that, you can fake it until you make it. But then you also fake it until you drown. And I started to drown. I was not doing well. And our bank account, our bank statement showed that. It was low, a lot of times too low, uncomfortably low. And my wife would express her concerns to me about this. Hey, we can't keep doing this. Because what she knew was that I was a real estate agent, a self-employed real estate agent that had the ability to do more to change that situation. It was going to require me to do things I didn't want to do, but she knew that, and I knew that too. So she'd say to me, something's got to change here. We can't keep doing this. Because she saw that I was not doing enough. And by that, I mean going to the gym in the middle of the day to work out for multiple hours a day, sleeping in till 11, etc. And I remember saying to her, don't worry, things are going to be okay. Things are going to work out. And even as I said it, when I was saying those things, I knew that she knew that I knew what I was actually saying was, I'm not going to do anything about this. I'm not going to take any action on this. 1, because I don't want to. 2, because this phrase has served me so well. All we got to do is put our heads down and we will get to Wednesday, or we will get to the other side of this. It doesn't mean that the other side is going to be better. It just means that this side of it is not going to be as painful. Something else will take up more mental space and we'll think about this less. Didn't really work like that. I mean, the Wednesday did come, but the bank account didn't really change. And she knew as much as I knew that simply saying things are going to be better was just a fancy way of saying I'm not going to do anything to change what's going on here. I was hoping for the baseline survival result, and that's what I was getting. I didn't think about things like what's the best case scenario here. I didn't think about things like, well, what happens if I actually try to do better at this job? What happens if I actually do the things that I know that I'm supposed to do in this job? See, whenever you're a survivalist, whenever you come from trauma and difficult backgrounds, you can't think big like that. You don't think in terms of what's the best case scenario. You're just trying to get through it. But whenever you're an adult and you keep doing that, or you keep thinking that way, you're leaving best case scenario on the table. You're leaving opportunity on the table, potential on the table. And a lot of times we're doing that simply because we don't want to change the situation. What has started as a survival technique has now turned into a way to protect our laziness. It allows us to just be without doing. It's not how it's supposed to work. So the thing that I think that I had to eventually realize was that by using this statement that had protected me and allowed me to survive for so long was now in a way killing my ability to see what could be. And I think that a lot of us do that. A lot of us sit back and we'll say, don't worry, things are going to be okay. But we are underselling the fact that things are only going to be okay now if we do something about it. They're only going to be okay if we actually take action. I mean, you could do nothing and you'll see Tuesday. Most likely you're going to see Tuesday or Wednesday. It's going to get here. But what about best case scenario? What about things being better? Not even talking about best case scenario, just better. That requires action. That requires movement and effort and energy on your part in order to see that. Else you'll get to next week and you'll be in the same position as you are right now. There is no such thing as things getting better by embracing this idea that things are just going to be better, that things are going to be okay. It doesn't work. To make things better, better means different than it is now. You can't say things are going to be better later if you're not willing to do something to change what you're in the middle of right now. Better implies different than the thing that you're currently in. And what about best? Oh man, it's hard to even imagine best. Best is on the other side of that. Best also implies that everything else is not as good as it. There is a gap between everything else and best. But you don't know that. I didn't know that. I was too busy putting my head in the sand and hoping for just getting through it. And in turn, I left a lot of years on the table and a lot of opportunity and a lot of potential that I could have had differently, that I could have had better if I would have just moved beyond this mentality of things are going to be all right. It's comfortable to say things are going to be all right. It feels comfortable to say everything's going to be all right. And it probably is. But what about best case scenario? What about better? Because there is opportunity between where you're at and that thing right there, that if you'll just set aside for a second the idea that things are going to be okay and start saying things are going to be better because of what I'm going to do about it. It's a big change. It's a hard change, especially if you're ingrained with this survival mentality, right? But that's what I want to talk to you about today was don't be robbing yourself. Don't rob yourself of having things be better because you're so content with the way that they are right now. You can have more. Just got to move past yourself. Thanks y'all so much for watching another episode of the Fizzness Shizzness podcast. My name is Rob. We will see you on the next episode. By the way, maybe if you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button so you know whenever I do another episode. That's all. Peace out.